Well, topping our news tonight, a man is dead after police say he was struck by an Amtrak train in Old Orchard Beach this afternoon. Crews responded to the tracks near Temple Avenue just after 2:15 p.m. There, a 51-year-old Orchard Beach man was found dead, and investigators believe he was walking near the tracks before the train hit him. They believe he had been drinking. The investigation, though, is still ongoing tonight. And an unhoused person is in the hospital after getting stuck inside a trash truck in Sanford. CENTER Maine's Drew Peters has more about the rescue from first responders and community leaders who are highlighting the importance of providing support to people experiencing homelessness.
Members of the Sanford Fire Department say the unhoused person was inside this dumpster next to the Sanford House of Pizza before they were unknowingly loaded into a trash truck.
From the time of call to the time the first units made patient contact was less than a minute.
When his crew arrived on scene, Assistant Fire Chief Rick Smith says first responders found the patient inside the portion of the truck where trash gets compacted.
From there, they came up with a plan to extricate the victim and began patient care by climbing down into the garbage and started treating the patient.
Realizing their injuries were too extensive, Smith says his emergency response crew was forced to hoist the patient out of the vehicle with the help of an engine ladder.
It's a highly specialized type of rescue that involves highly technical training and a lot of specialized equipment.
A kind of rescue Reverend Tim Higgins says becomes more common in the summer when unhoused people are pushed to find shelter from the sun.
It's horrific, and it's a lifestyle that folks continue to do the best they can to get under cover at night.
That's why Higgins says the free meals his staff provides every Wednesday at St. George's Episcopal Church are becoming as critical as ever.
So yesterday we had 75 people here.
A hot meal and safe space that allows Higgins and his volunteers to connect unhoused community members with a slew of other resources provided by nonprofits like It Takes a Village 207.
Sanford Housing Authority come here on a regular basis. Haircuts are provided, so some hair salon folks haircutters will come. We now have wound dressing and wound care available.
Addressing each need step by step with the hope it ultimately puts them in a position to get off the streets.
Let's move folks towards housing, move folks towards rehab, move folks towards getting out of the system, as it were.
Members of the Sanford Fire Department say the unhoused person is receiving medical care at the Maine Medical Center in Portland. In Sanford, Drew Peters, CENTER Maine.
Well, in other news, the town of Skowhegan has authorized legal action against a local church-run shelter. An inspection report cites that it's operating as an unauthorized dormitory. The shelter's run inside of a church, and a placard was issued by the Skowhegan Fire Department stating the building has no sprinkler system and no monitored fire alarm system. Pastor Richard Berry says they're currently working to address the violations.
I'm working diligently to build a place for the families to go that will fit their codes and fit their ordinance.
We're taking all the legal steps necessary to encourage compliance. What we really want is Shelters by Jesus to have a compliant building up to code.
And town officials say they're waiting next steps in the court process, and in the meantime, they're helping people transition out of the shelter. Maine's moving closer to making high-level at-home treatment possible for its most vulnerable children with severe mental health challenges. Today, a groundbreaking ceremony took place at Sweetzer's Saco campus, which will be home to Maine's first-use psychiatric residential treatment facility, or PTRF. An old 8,000-square-foot residential unit will be turned into a 24-hour psychiatric care center with 16 beds. The facility will include activity rooms, sensory spaces, a nurse's station, and a basketball court. This new center aims to address Maine's shortage of mental health beds for children. Because of the shortage, hundreds of children as young as 5 have had to receive treatment in emergency rooms. State health officials report that about 70 at-risk children are currently getting treatment out of state.
It is about families who have spent sleepless nights searching for help and wondering where to turn. And it is about ensuring that children can receive the care they need close to home.
The nearly $8 million facility is expected to open sometime next year. It will have a family apartment on campus so families and young people can stay connected during treatment. Well, there are 3 races from the June 9th primary that went on to be recounted. 1 was determined on Monday. 2 were recounted today. Recounts have delayed results before, notably for elections in Maine's 2nd Congressional District. News Center Maine's Christian Harsa brings us to the recounting room to tell us more about the process.
The recounting process takes time and it delays results, but when you have razor-thin margins, every vote counts.
If there is an exact tie, it's an automatic recount.
Which Deputy Secretary of State Kate McBrien says doesn't happen often.
You know, in the case of the recount this morning, there was an 8-vote difference. Really close.
This recount is between Republicans Nicholas Hamlin and Suzanne Andresen for the State House District 49 primary spot. Regardless of the race, McBrien says the recount process is the same, and the state covers a vote separated by less than 1.5%. Recounting goes with teams of 3 people, a Secretary of State staffer, and representatives from each campaign counting ballots by hand.
They're both counting, they're both confirming the other person's count, and they're making sure that they all agree on how each vote is actually cast and how it should be read.
The groups work town by town in the case of District 49 or box by box for District 135, which is only Kennebunk. The results for both primary elections remained the same. Suzanne Andresen won District 49 and Lisa Pratt District 135.
Really shows that every single vote was counted by hand. Everyone was looked at.
Every vote counts. When you have a gap of only 8 now down to 6, it really does matter.
Neither loser, District 49's Nicholas Hamlin or District 135's Rachel Phipps, expected a different result, but wanted to inspire confidence in those results.
We were able to verify that of all 5 towns, each town was probably 1 or 2 votes off, which is really, really good.
Every vote does count, and your vote could be the vote that flips an election.
Phipps ran on a progressive platform and lost by 18 votes to Pratt. She wants Pratt and other candidates to remember they represent all constituents.
I think it's important that whoever is a representative recognizes that there are at least very close to half of our electorate who are looking for a progressive candidate with a progressive platform.
The Secretary of State's office says that if a recount happens in the November election, it would follow the same process. But if it's a statewide election, it would probably require more manpower and time to complete. In Augusta, Christian Harsa, News Center Maine.
And a federal judge in Boston has struck down the Trump administration's attempt to require states to submit voter records to the federal government for verification. If mail-in ballots did not match those records, the president said the Postal Service would not transport those ballots. The judge ruled that the U.S. Constitution does not grant the executive branch that authority. This is the latest court ruling to hamper efforts by the president to increase federal oversight over elections. Maine is one of 30 states that have refused to share their voting records with the federal government. Maine Secretary of State Shenna Bellows is celebrating this ruling as another win and proof that Maine is in the right.
And to have a judge reaffirm what the states have been saying from the very beginning, that under the Constitution, it's the states, not the federal government, that are in charge of elections, and that Trump has no right to prohibit mail voting. So our seniors, our people with disabilities, Mainers who are leading busy lives and they're expecting their absentee ballot by mail and need to return their ballot by mail should feel very good today and excited that at least for now, our elections are protected in the fall.
And Maine Attorney General Aaron Frey says his office will also continue to push back against unlawful attempts of federal oversight as the November election draws closer.
If we can't do this, it's a failure of both Democrats and Republicans.
It's the House Freedom Caucus speaking on Capitol Hill today. They're urging their colleagues in the Senate to pass the Save America Act. President Trump announced yesterday he would be withholding his signature on a bipartisan housing affordability bill, quote, until the Senate can send the SAVE Act to his desk. The SAVE Act would require voters to present proof of citizenship when they cast their ballots. It has the support of all Republicans, but it can't overcome a filibuster without the support of 7 Democrats as well. Democrats have vocally opposed SAVE, saying that it would disenfranchise millions of voters by requiring them to present a passport, which is something only about 50% of Americans have. The housing bill, now being used as a bargaining chip, has strong bipartisan support in both the House and Senate. And if signed into law, it would spur rezoning efforts nationwide. It would allocate funding for affordable housing and limit how many homes private equity firms could swallow up. Trump was expected to sign it yesterday before pulling out at the last minute and tying it to SAVE. Freedom Caucus member Representative Ralph Norman says the president should take the strategy a step further.
No bill is more important than the Save America Act. The president did the right thing yesterday by canceling the bill signing unless the SAVE Act is attached. I personally think we should not have any more legislation until the Senate comes back in session.
And as of right now, no Senate Democrats have indicated that they'll be supporting the SAVE Act. House Speaker Mike Johnson told media yesterday he's looking to include SAVE provisions in budget reconciliation, which would bypass the Senate filibuster.